Imagine your palms drenched in sweat, gripping the steering wheel. To your left, a sheer rock wall. To your right, a bottomless abyss swallowed by mist. No guardrails, no warning signs. One tiny slip of a tire, and it's all over. You're not dreaming. This is the brutal reality people face every day. From the death peaks of the Andes to rusted tracks suspended over stormy oceans, our planet is riddled with routes that flirt with the afterlife. Logically, they shouldn't even exist. Buckle up. Right now, we're embarking on a heart-pounding journey to explore the most dangerous roads and railways on Earth. If you're brave enough to go the distance, hit subscribe and stay with us. Because as we move forward, things are going to get pushed far beyond the limit. We begin our journey at North Yungas Road, a fragile scar carved into the Andes. Where men once gambled their lives for gold and coca leaves. Starting from La Paz at nearly 16,000 feet, this 40-mile path drops over 11,000 feet in elevation, like a slide from heaven to hell. Many sections are barely 10 feet wide, clinging to the cliffside like a thread over the void. Dense fog blinds you. Waterfalls turn the road into a slippery trap, and every hairpin turn is a roll of the dice with fate. In the 1990s, hundreds never made it home. The white crosses lining the road stand in silence. Final punctuation marks scattered across the mountainside. If the first road was the most dangerous, what does second place look like? Tucked away in the Gilgit-Baltistan region, Fairy Meadows Road is the only gateway to the base of Nanga Parbat, the Killer Mountain. But to reach paradise, you must pass a survival test. The road is barely wide enough for a single jeep, with no railings and no shoulder. It clings to the cliff like a rope over a canyon. Below is nothing but empty space waiting to swallow any mistake. Rockfalls happen without warning. One slip of the wheel and you vanish. The scariest part, not just anyone is allowed to drive here. Only local drivers who have memorized every curve like a death sentence dare to take the wheel. When the vehicle starts swaying on the edge of the abyss, you'll realize this road is just as ruthless as the first. If the previous roads made your hands shake, Zojila Pass is where you must grip the wheel with pure instinct. Situated at over 11,500 feet, this pass is the gateway between Kashmir and Ladakh, a portal that looks like a jagged tear in the Himalayas. Stretching nearly 125 miles, the road is so narrow it often fits only one lane, covered in mud, snow, and landslide debris. There are no guardrails, only a vertical wall on one side and a freezing abyss on the other. Heavy trucks crawl meter by meter, defying gravity, while a single landslide can erase the road in minutes. Here, you don't just drive, you negotiate with the terrain. And the only mistake you can make is the one you don't get to fix. While Zojila is a negotiation with nature, the D915 is a direct challenge to your fear. If any road can be described as insane, it's this one. Stretching 111 miles across the Pontic Mountains, it features 29 hair-raising switchbacks. The most terrifying section is the Deribasi turns, where the road snakes up Soganli Mountain at a 17% grade. It's so narrow that one wrong move means disappearing from the map. Built by hand in 1916 by forced laborers, it remains almost unchanged. Dirt, rock, and vehicles squeezed onto a fragile line. Here, you aren't just facing the terrain. You are facing the history that carved it. If there is a road that defies not just terrain, but fate itself, it's the Guoliang Tunnel. Hidden in the Taihang Mountains, this road wasn't built. It was hollowed out of a vertical cliff like a massive gash on the mountainside. Over 4,000 feet long and suspended at an altitude of 5,500 feet, every window carved into the rock reveals a dizzying drop into the canyon below. Before 1972, the village of Guoliang was completely isolated. Then, the locals took their fate into their own hands, using hammers and chisels to hollow out 24,000 cubic meters of rock over 5 years. The result is a miracle suspended between life and death. Every meter of this road was built with more than just stone. It was built with sheer human will and absolute recklessness. Danger doesn't always look rugged and ugly. Sometimes it's hidden behind perfect beauty, like the Taroko Gorge Road. Carved into marble cliffs, the road winds through a landscape that looks like a painting, but functions like a trap. The asphalt seems safe, but the road is so narrow that buses, cars, motorcycles, and pedestrians all fight for the same few inches. Blind curves follow one after another like a labyrinth, and dark tunnels offer no light. Above you, boulders can fall at any moment, especially during heavy rain or earthquakes. Here, the danger isn't what you see. It's what could happen in the very next second. Next on our journey is the Karakoram Highway, one of the highest and harshest roads on the planet. Reaching nearly 15,500 feet at the Kunjarab Pass. Stretching over 800 miles, it pierces through the mighty Karakoram Range, where massive glaciers creep down toward the road as if to swallow human civilization. The views are breathtaking, but they hide a system of constant threats. Landslides, rockfalls, and avalanches happen instantly, while the thin air slows your reflexes to a crawl. On sections where the road is just a thin layer of dirt clinging to the mountain, you have ice on one side and a void on the other. At this altitude, one small mistake means there's no turning back. The Tianmen mountain road is a dragon road with 99 bends that look like a silk ribbon draped across the sky. Stretching 7 miles and climbing to 3,600 feet, every curve is a step toward the clouds. But that beauty is just a shell. Mist can swallow the road in seconds, and the relentless hairpin turns leave drivers with zero time to react. In wet conditions, tires slip like they're on glass. A minor steering error isn't just a detour. It's a straight dive down the mountainside. From afar, it looks like the road to heaven. Once you're on it, you realize it's also the fastest way down. Imagine a road that doesn't go straight, but instead coils into 29 switchbacks, stacked on top of each other in the Andes. This is Los Caracoles Pass. At over 10,000 feet, every hairpin turn is a battle against inertia. No guardrails, no safety net. Only white snow and a deep abyss right next to your tires. Heavy trucks have to crawl through these tight bends, creating suffocatingly tense moments when two vehicles meet on a curve with no escape. When ice coats the asphalt, it becomes as slippery as a mirror. One wrong rhythm, and you'll leave that curve forever. Some roads don't take you far. They force you to climb to your own limits. Stelvio Pass is one of them. At 9,045 feet, Stelvio boasts 48 hairpin turns stacked like folds in the Alps. Each turn is so tight that vehicles must practically rotate in place to pass, all while a cold abyss looms below. Snow, ice, and fog frequently blanket the road, turning the journey into a slippery, unpredictable ordeal. During peak season, cyclists, bikers, and cars all jam into the narrow space, turning every curve into a dangerous blind spot. It's called the King of the Stage for a reason. Every meter is a confrontation with altitude and risk. A road doesn't need extreme altitude to be terrifying. Sometimes it's the empty space below that makes your heart stop. Ma Pi Leng Pass is the ultimate proof. Located on Highway 4C at about 4,000 feet, this 12-mile pass winds across the Dongvan Karst Plateau like a thread draped over jagged limestone peaks. Below is the Tusan Canyon, where the Noki River looks like a tiny green ribbon forgotten among the grey rocks. The road is narrow, filled with switchbacks, and often choked by fog. A single slip of the wheel, and the void below will instantly claim your mistake. It is breathtakingly beautiful, but as fragile as the road itself, hanging in the sky. Hidden in the Carpathian Mountains, there is a road that looks like it was hand-drawn onto the slopes. Transfagarasan Highway, stretching nearly 56 miles, at altitudes over 6,500 feet. This highway features a series of sharp turns that look like frozen waves. From above, it's as soft as a ribbon, but in reality, it's a constant gauntlet. Mist appears out of nowhere, blinding you, while rain and rockfalls turn the road into a trap. The steep grades and sharp bends require absolute control over every movement. It's been called the best road in the world, but here, beauty always comes with a price. The next location might surprise you with its name, Trollstigen, the Troll's Path. Located on Norway's Route 63, this 34-mile road climbs 2,800 feet with 11 hairpin turns so sharp that every turn feels like bending the laws of motion. With a 10% grade and a narrow surface, vehicles must watch every inch. Right next to you, the Stigfossen waterfall thunders down, coating the road in a slippery mist. When the rain and fog roll in, visibility vanishes, turning every turn into a dangerous blind spot. It sounds like a legend, but when you're on it, you'll understand. it's a challenge that allows for zero errors. If there's a road that looks too beautiful to be real, it's the Atlantic Ocean Road. Only 5 miles long, it connects small islands with 8 bridges that arch like frozen waves. From a distance, it's a silk ribbon over the ocean. But in reality, it's where nature displays its most violent power. During storms, waves crash directly onto the road, swallowing cars in seconds. Winds are strong enough to blow you off course, and the asphalt becomes as slick as glass from the salt water. There are no mountains or cliffs here, but the ocean is the abyss. One wave larger than the rest, and the road and everyone on it could vanish. Not all dangerous roads are on mountains. Some lead into places where life itself fades away. The Dalton Highway is one of them. Stretching 414 miles through the Alaskan wilderness, this is the road to the Arctic, where temperatures can plummet below -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Most of the road is gravel and ice, as slippery as a frozen mirror. There are few gas stations, no cell service, and no quick rescue. If you break down, you are alone with the elements. Massive trucks roar past at high speeds, kicking up blinding clouds of dust or snow. Here, the danger isn't a single moment. It's the isolation, where every mistake is your last. When most people think of scenic drives in Maui, they think of the road to Hana. But on the northwest side of the island, Kahekili Highway tells a much darker story. This road snakes between the mountains and the sea, like a raw cut on the edge of the island. Some sections are so narrow that only one car can pass. forcing drivers to negotiate every meter in tense silence. Blind corners appear constantly. There is no cell service, no guardrails, and nothing but the ocean wind and a crumbling road. Here, focus isn't an option. It's the only thing keeping you on the island. Next is the BR 116. A road where danger comes not just from the terrain, but from what happens on it. Stretching over 2,500 miles, this highway is known by a chilling name: the Highway of Death. Steep cliffs, narrow lanes, and poor maintenance make it risky enough. The stretch between São Paulo and Curitiba is a graveyard of accidents caused by fog, unpredictable terrain, and heavy truck traffic. But even scarier is the human element. Carjackings, robberies, and crime turn every trip into a gamble. Not just with your driving, but with your life. Sometimes, the scariest thing isn't height. It's a road that can disappear at any moment. The Passage du Gois is a 2.6-mile road connecting the mainland to the island of Noirmoutier. But it only reveals itself twice a day when the tide goes out. When the water recedes, the road appears like a strip of sand in the ocean. But when the tide rises, everything is swallowed in minutes. The danger here is time. If you're even a minute late, the sea rises faster than you can drive, turning the road into a watery trap. The rescue towers along the road aren't for show. They are the last chance for those caught by the tide. You don't drive across this road, you race the ocean. On a map, it looks like a 1,300-mile line. In reality, the Sichuan-Tibet highway is a never-ending gauntlet. Connecting Chengdu to Lhasa, it crosses mountains nearly 16,000 feet high. The terrain changes constantly, from lush valleys to barren cliffs eroded by the wind. Rockfalls happen without warning. Avalanches, landslides, and thick fog can make the road vanish instantly. Some sections are just thin layers of dirt clinging to the side of a mountain over a cold void. Crossing this road requires more than just skill. It requires absolute alertness for thousands of miles. In New Zealand, near Queenstown, there is a road that many maps show, but many drivers avoid. Skipper's Canyon Road. Carved during the gold rush, it clings to the side of the canyon above the deep Shotover River. The entire surface is dirt and rock, so narrow that only one car can pass, with no guardrails and no place to turn around. Blind corners are constant, and the steep, bumpy surface makes control difficult. It's so dangerous that most car rental companies refuse to provide insurance if you drive on it. This isn't a place for mistakes. Every decision must be accurate to the centimeter. Our journey now moves to a route that carries the weight of history and its terrible cost. The Death Railway. Built during World War II, this 250-mile track claimed the lives of over 100,000 people. Today, a portion still operates in Kanchanaburi, where wooden trestles cling to cliffs suspended over the River Kwai. The rails rest on fragile wooden structures that feel like they might shatter with one strong vibration. When the train rolls, the gap between the wheels and the abyss is non-existent, a terrifyingly thin boundary. This isn't just a track. It's the scar of an era where lives were traded for a path through the jungle. the journey continues. And this time, the path doesn't cling to a mountain. It stretches across the ocean. The Pamban Railway route connects mainland India to Rameswaram Island, spanning over a mile of open sea. The new version, inaugurated in 2025, features a modern vertical lift system to allow ships to pass. But technology can't erase the risk. Strong sea winds, massive waves, and erratic currents make the bridge sway as the train passes. If the weather turns, visibility drops and gusts become dangerous. When the train rolls into the middle of the sea, with nothing but water and air around you, you'll realize a road doesn't need a cliff to be an abyss. The ocean is enough. Leaving the ocean, we head to the frozen cliffs. Where the White Pass and Yukon route snakes like a thread between rock and snow. Known as the railway built of gold, it was born during the Klondike Gold Rush, crossing steep gorges and hanging on high bridges over thin air. The narrow-gauge tracks hug the cliffside, making the train look like it's sliding along the edge of the world. Snow, ice, and freezing winds make operation brutal. A single mechanical failure on these steep grades and sharp curves could turn the journey into a disaster. It's ranked as a civil engineering landmark because every meter is a fragile balance between man and nature. Nestled in the Colorado Rockies, the Georgetown Loop is more than a heritage railroad. It's an engineering marvel that defies high-altitude terrain. Connecting Georgetown and Silver Plume, this narrow-gauge track climbs 600 feet through sharp loops and famous bridges, specifically the Devil's Gate High Bridge. A steel structure 100 feet in the air where the train crosses over empty space. The tracks hug the mountain walls so closely that the train must slow to a crawl on tight bends. High winds and the tiny margin between the wheels and the edge create a journey that demands absolute precision. Every trip is a reminder of how thin the line is between engineering and risk. In the ancient rainforests of Queensland, the Kuranda Scenic Railway offers a journey where the line between beauty and danger is blurred. This is more than a tourist route. It's a slice through one of the oldest ecosystems on Earth. Starting from Cairns, the track winds through barren Gorge, crossing 55 bridges and 15 tunnels carved by hand from solid rock. The tracks curve tightly against cliffs, where the altitude shifts constantly. Right next to you, waterfalls thunder down, creating a thick mist that hides the tracks. But this pristine environment is the source of constant risk. Steep terrain requires high precision, while the rainy season can bring sudden landslides. High humidity makes the rails slippery, increasing the risk of losing control. Here, the danger is sophisticated, hidden inside a perfect green paradise. In the Swiss Alps, the Bernina Express is a masterpiece draped across ice and clouds. Connecting Chur to Tirano, it reaches altitudes over 7,000 feet without using a cog system, a rarity for such steep terrain. The train crosses 196 bridges and 55 tunnels, including the famous Brusio Spiral. From a distance, it looks like a perfect curve in the valley. But behind that smoothness is absolute precision. Heavy snow and gales reduce grip, and even a tiny deviation on a steep grade could be catastrophic. The perfection of the engineering hides the harshness of the environment. At Bernina, you don't feel the danger until you realize that everything depends on a balance that a single error could shatter. In central Ecuador, on the Andes, Nariz del Diablo, the Devil's Nose, is one of the most treacherous tracks in the world. To overcome a near-vertical cliff, the train must move in a zigzag pattern, moving forward and then backing up, on sharp bends perched over a precipice. During its construction in the early 20th century, thousands of workers died from rock slides and disease, earning the place its deadly name. Today, it's safer, but the risks remain. Landslides and steep grades require strict control. If you visit, you are warned never to stand near the edge. The void below won't give you a second chance. High in the remote mountains of northern India, there is a road that seems to defy reason itself. Carved into a sheer vertical cliff, Kishtwar Killer Road looks less like a road and more like a mistake that never should have existed. The ledge is barely wide enough for a single vehicle, with no guardrails, nothing but empty air waiting inches from the tires. One side is solid rock. The other is a drop so deep it swallows sound. And yet, people drive here every day. Buses crawl forward, wheels scraping the edge, drivers reading the road like a life or death code. When two vehicles meet, one must reverse along the cliff, slowly, blindly, until space appears or fate runs out. Above, loose rocks fall without warning. Below, there is no second chance. This isn't a road built for adventure. It's a road people are forced to survive. Winding through the clouds of northern Luzon, Halsema Highway feels less like a road and more like a fragile line drawn across the spine of a mountain. Mist drifts endlessly over steep slopes, revealing glimpses of terraces and valleys that drop away without warning. At over 2,000 meters above sea level, the highway cuts through one of the most rugged regions in the Philippines. Sections cling to unstable hillsides, where rain can loosen the earth overnight, and fog can erase the road ahead in seconds. There are stretches where the edge simply disappears into space. No barrier, no margin for error. And yet, this is not an abandoned route. Farmers guide heavily loaded trucks along its narrow curves, carrying fresh vegetables from remote highlands to distant markets. Drivers move slowly, reading the mountain as much as the road, adjusting to every shift in weather and terrain. At its highest point in Atok, the air thins, the temperature drops, and the entire landscape feels suspended above the rest of the country. Here, survival isn't dramatic. It's routine, a quiet journey along a road that was never meant to be easy. We end our journey on one of the highest railways in the world, the train to the clouds, where the train seems to glide between heaven and earth. Located in northern Argentina, the route starts in Salta and climbs to over 13,800 feet. Spanning 135 miles, it crosses 29 bridges and 21 tunnels. The highlight is the La Polveria Viaduct, a steel structure 230 feet high where the train feels suspended over a sea of clouds. But the altitude is the greatest challenge. The thin air causes dizziness and shortness of breath, while the weather shifts instantly. High winds and narrow tracks require absolute precision. You aren't just traveling through mountains, you are moving at the boundary where the sky begins. After all the roads we've traveled today, perhaps the takeaway isn't the height, the grade, or the breathtaking curves. It's the realization that humans will always find a way to move forward, no matter the cost. From death-defying cliffs to roads that vanish beneath the sea, each place is a reminder. Nature is not easily conquered. Sometimes, it doesn't even have to attack. It simply exists as it is, and that is enough to make any mistake permanent. In these extreme conditions, people still build, still stay, and still cross. Not because they aren't afraid, but because they have no other choice. Perhaps these dangerous roads shouldn't exist. Yet they do, as a testament to human will, recklessness, and our fragile limits. If this journey made you see the world a little differently, hit like, subscribe, and stay with us.